Okay, I'm excited to finally get to this video, which I have attempted to record several times. This week's topic is about intention and sacred space, which really go together. How we set up our space and treat our sacred items is a reflection of our intention, really. And so when we bring more honor and intention in little ways, we actually create a stronger anchor for manifesting. So intention is literally the premise for alchemy. What we intend, which is where we get into the tricky piece of knowing that our thoughts and our feelings really become our actions, or they become our reality. And so it can feel overwhelming to take that responsibility that we are the creators and the perpetrators of our lives. But when we do, when we really take on that responsibility, when we own it, we get to process the feelings that come up from that. And then we also get to create the life that we want to live. It doesn't dismiss other people's bad behavior. You know, we can get into the trouble of, okay, if I'm responsible for everything and this trauma happened, I'm responsible for that. In some spiritual ways, yes, but that doesn't take away the bad behavior of another person. It doesn't dismiss it. It doesn't actually dismiss the pain of negative experiences. We still have to feel that pain. But if we slowly and carefully realign ourselves into the philosophy that we are the ultimate creators of our life, we begin to have a lot more power, and we get to sort of realign and correct the places that aren't in our full integrity. We are always, as humans, practicing rituals. Every day we enact rituals. It might be for our care, like brushing our teeth. It's a ritual, right? It might be for ceremony or sacred space, or it might be little rituals that we just automatically created because of our programming, our conditioning, and our backgrounds. It's a powerful place to use ritual to anchor your manifestations and to create your intention. So it's like a triangle, and I'm going to post a graphic on this. Your thoughts and feelings converge with your will, which all of this is your intentions, and it's also your creations. And so when your thoughts and feelings align and are clear from a place of your heart, the heart's kind of this neutral point of everything that we create. When we work from that chakra, and we create wellness in our life, we can manifest at a much higher rate and manifest things that we actually want. There was someone that was talking to me that kind of she said something funny that always stuck with me, but she said, you know, once I manifest something, I realize that I have to live with what I manifested. Meaning, like, sometimes we think we know what we want, but ultimately the hard work is getting clear with what we want, and is getting clear with what's actually our true desire. I could think I want this beautiful, big, huge house, mansion, because it sounds nice and I think it's going to bring me something. But that's not actually probably what I'm actually looking for. What I'm probably actually looking for is some sort of space, or some sort of pleasing environment, which speaks more to safety and security and joy, maybe even, and what that environment is. And so if we focus our intentions on just getting the big house, all sorts of problems can come in the way where we could have a beautiful house and not have the feeling of space, not have the feeling of safety, and not having the feeling of security or joy. And so it's really important to bring in that trinity of like, what are my feelings? What are the feelings that I want to feel in this creation? What are the thoughts that are supporting that feeling or not supporting that feeling that I need to process and dissolve? And then bringing those together into your will, your solar plexus chakra, which is really coming into your belief system. Do I believe that this manifestation is possible? Those three things create a synergy and an alchemy for creation. And so when our thoughts are muddied and our feelings aren't processed in a healthy way, it gets really mucky, and our creations come out misaligned in all sorts of ways. And so the art of intention is coming backwards into the bigger question is, what do I want? What do I desire? In my work as a therapist, I've found that many people fall in a spectrum, but there's a very large portion of people who are usually drawn to this kind of work that are highly empathetic, that are sensitive. When you grow up highly empathetic and sensitive in our culture, you often kind of accidentally become the martyr, and you become the person that takes care of everyone else but themselves, really in a selfish way, because this is unconscious. But the unconscious piece is, my value is wrapped up in the needs of others. And so I don't feel valuable unless I'm taking care of you and you feel taken care of, which also has all sorts of complications. So to me, when you're in that paradigm, the first step or the hard work is reestablishing what your needs are, which means starting to practice, everything's a practice, your yeses and nos and boundaries. Maybes are confusing. Maybes create unsafety. And usually when we say maybe, not always, but usually when we say maybe, it's not a yes. It's, I don't know, and I don't want to, or I don't want to clarify right now because I'm afraid of hurting your feelings. Safety comes in boundaries. And so when someone has really solid boundaries, we often trust them. We often go to them because we can trust that they're going to be real with us. Our Western culture, especially in the States, is very much avoiding to hurt people's feelings. And so that's where we start to lose our sense of what our intentions are. If we constantly say yes because we don't want to hurt someone's feelings, we are basically, every time we do that, we're flicking our soul, we're flicking our integrity, we're flicking our ability to know what we want. Because you do that over and over again, and then pretty soon you're only in a mind frame of thinking about what others' needs are, and you've no longer taking the time to check in with what your needs are. And so that is really the foundation for getting to a place where you can create better intentions. With everything, you can always, you don't have to do this alone. So working with your spirit partner is a good way to practice, saying yeses and nos, even if it's like role playing or expressing what your true needs are to someone that feels safe. Maybe it's not your spirit partner in this class. Maybe it's someone else that you can go to. Maybe it's a therapist. Those are all really good tools for practicing, because we're not meant to do everything on our own. So we can bring crystalline precision into our process by getting more clear with our boundaries, practicing our boundaries, practicing yeses and nos, Journaling, free streaming journaling where you're not thinking about editing and you're just processing. Also, if you do that on a regular basis, can bring out your clear intentions, because you'll start to see themes and patterns and repetition, which is your unconscious mind speaking through your words. You can't get into the unconscious mind though if you're worried about how you're writing or what you're going to say. You really have to let go. Sometimes I do free flowing audio because it's more of a stream of conscious versus if I'm writing. Some people prefer writing. So practicing those things, getting clarity through our own boundaries, our own yeses or nos, and then also practicing in the channeling world with maybe smaller intentions. And so, let's say my intention is to be in a better relationships with people, deeper friendships or companionship, or improve my relationship. There might be a lot of smaller intentions you could reach towards in order to get to that bigger one. So map out the bigger one, but then really break it down. Okay, what's getting in the way of my ability to connect with people? Am I putting myself in situations where I have the opportunity to connect with people? Those kind of things. Those might be the smaller intentions. So the bigger intention might be a really deep, profound relationship. The smaller intention might be, I'm going to go to an event this week. So breaking up our intentions. So having the big dream is really important, and to get creative and think as far, imagine your best life in all elements. And I have a graphic that puts out the 4 elements of our life: mental, mind, spirit, energy, emotional, heart, and our physical body. And so you can brainstorm on that and take an intention and then see what that intention covers in all of those 4 realms. It's a good way to brainstorm. So dream big, but once you have your bigger dream, break it up into smaller pieces, and also anchor it through your will chakra so we can practice little things. And when we practice little things, when we accomplish something that's obtainable and doable, and we bring our intention and we clear the negative belief systems and we align our feelings to that thing, and it happens, we feel gratified, we feel satiated, we feel motivated. And so it's important to along the way to do that and to stop and give reflection and celebration for the little things that you accomplish as you work towards a bigger thing. For channeling work, you get to play in this world. You get to play with intentions. And one thing about the multidimensional field and the spiritual and etheric realm is it loves specificity. I can't say that word. It loves specifics. And so if you're wondering what a message means, you've received some vision, go into a meditative space, either ask your guide or your higher self or whoever you like to commune with, ask them, what does this message mean? It isn't clear to me. Make it clear for me. Be specific. And if you hear and you ask a question and it's a yes or no question, and the first thing that comes into your space is a yes, that is the answer. That is the message. We often just don't trust it. We start to add our mental processing onto whatever message we received. And so clarifying your intentions and using your channeling space to do that is also a very powerful way to practice aligning your human will with your spiritual will. Excuse me. So those are just a few ideas around intention setting, and another piece to creating what I look as anchors for intention is to use talismans. So to use objects to do what I absolutely, it was one of my favorite things to do, is to create little altars. I have them all over my house usually, in different ways. And so this is the beauty way. So it's going into the sacred practice of honoring. Some spiritual philosophies get into this idea where we're not supposed to have anything and we're supposed to be super minimum. I don't feed into that, because I think the real message is not getting attached to something or not getting so serious about something that it takes over. But using beautiful things, using aesthetics, your aesthetic, what pleases you, to honor particular things within your intentions is a really beautiful way to practice magic. And so you might be creating an altar that honors a spirit helper that can help you get to your intentions. I worked with Shamuel, the heart chakra angel, the angel that will connect you with your soul mates, not just in companionship, but also in career. Some people call him the soul career counselor of the angels. And so I created a practice with him, which happened to be sound, and I chanted his name as a way of anchoring my will and setting the intention to do that. Brought me into what I was calling in. I actually did it periodically throughout the day. And so creating some ritual, whether it's using elements to bring in, material form objects to bring in, and tools, or whether it's using your voice to sing, to create a ritual around that, is so powerful for the next level of creation and manifesting, or fem-manifesting, as I like to say, because I really think it's a merge of the masculine and feminine principles. And so the magnetic piece, the feminine principle, the channeling principle, is getting into a meditative place and being able to vision the feelings and thoughts that can form the highest level of intention to create the will to do something, which will then go into the masculine, emerges with the masculine principle, which is taking the action steps. It's the brainstorming, it's mapping it out, and then it's actually doing little things that get you to that particular intention. You can play with intentions in really silly ways. You can say, let me try to think of an example. I want to practice this calling in, and today I want to find a feather, and that is my intention, is to find a feather. Now that's a little bit less like the goal-oriented intention examples, but it's a fun way of kind of playing with spirit and seeing if you can create the will, the thoughts, the feelings, and intention around just finding a feather, which seems silly, but I play with that. I want a clear sign for knowing if this is my intention, if this is my heart's intention. So show me this, spirit, whether it's an animal. Let me encounter this animal that connects to this thing. You can play in that world because it creates this conversation that you get to have with the multiverse and spirit guides around intention. And so the title of this week is also Intentions in Sacred Space. Sacred space is one, I talked about this, but actually setting a space for you to show up and practice your intentions. A sacred space is a really beautiful way to establish a boundary that this is your time and space to be able to be in the divine feminine, to be in the channeling energy, and just creating that, in magic, they create circles. And so whether it's with their imaginative tools or actual tools with wands. And so you can do that. You can create a circle string in a space in your house and teach the people that love you that when you're in this space, this is for your channeling work or your meditation work, whatever words work in that system. And so sacred space is really about claiming your energy space, claiming the space for you to get clear on your intentions and to do the work, to do this work that you've signed up for, that your spirit has called you to. That is really a powerful step in the channeling and intuitive arts. When we make the universe, the multiverse, when we make it known that we are setting aside sacred time for ourselves, we can then begin to weave our own web and become the manifestors, become the creators, and take our power back. Yeah. Let's see. Is there anything else I'd like to say in this moment for this topic? I'm just checking in with my guides. It's been such a beautiful shift of energy with the full moon in Taurus. Today I felt a burst of energy of like that bowl kind of, I'm going to get stuff done so I could show up back up to my videos, which I've had a lot of complications with. Yeah, and so also I think that's another principle I want to just briefly talk about before we close this video, is using the rhythm of nature and the planets and the energy and the astrology. Those are great navigational tools for setting up our practice in the rhythms of nature. So following the moon cycles with your intentions, the full moon being a time when we release things that are blocking our full manifestation. The new moon is the feminine principle of calling in. It's the darkest time of the moon, and it's the time when the light's going to start coming back. And so we begin to call and cultivate that light. If you look at the nature's ovulation cycles, it works on these principles. And so when we use the elements and the earth rhythms to become the creators of our life in a better way, our intentions get clear. We know when it's not time to focus so much on creating versus reflecting. And when we roll with that, our whole life will shift in a way where we're honoring our own cycles. We're honoring the times when we're not meant to be in creative mode. We honor the times, which means when you're in creative mode, it's that much juicier.